to Positive Energy with Crystals. My name's Hillary, and today we're doing a book review. You've probably seen this book if you watched Selena's video when she got back from Gettysburg. I can't remember if it was her last trip there. Anyway, she showed this book, and she bought it from the niece of the author and also of the store owner. And I decided I needed it, and I found an amazing deal, and I bought it, and here it is. We'll do kind of a quick, it's not going to be quick. Let's just get into it. So, I really like the size. It's kind of smaller. It's not super thick. It's a good size, and mine's got kind of a little bit off. I don't think it was read much when I bought it. Anyway, so it starts off, the introduction and crystals in your daily life. It starts off saying what I've said in other videos. People have been working with crystals for years in very similar ways without having met each other. Like one person can do this one thing with a jade, and somebody else countries and countries away, same thing, and they've never met, never had a connection, and they'll do the same thing with crystals. And I love that. It also points out that the magic of crystals has become a little inflated. Example I use, and she kind of hits on too, is amethyst. People use it. The belief of amethyst is that it'll keep you from getting drunk, that it'll prevent you from getting drunk. When in reality, amethyst is supposed to help you break the addictive habits, which can help you prevent you from getting drunk. So instead of drinking a bunch and the amethyst is gonna keep you from getting drunk, amethyst is actually telling you to stop drinking so much, and that's gonna keep you from getting drunk. Or did I mention it's by Kate Odell? That's the author. I think I mentioned her niece, but I don't think I said her name. So Kate explains also her belief in crystals and the scientific background, which I really liked. Why she uses them and why she believes in them, and I really like that. She also says the key is to find a crystal or stone that is in harmony with your own rhythm. And then, she says, finding the proper stone is a subjective experience. I love this. I'm always saying crystals can act differently to each person, and that's exactly what she's saying. So I love how she explains that. Next, she does a brief description of auras, meridians, chakras. And she goes through each, just a really brief description of each chakra. And I really liked how they're brief and short, so if you're getting into crystals, this explains it and gives you kind of a general brief description. But if you want to go deeper, it kind of gives you the starting point. Next, finding your crystal. I absolutely love this section, especially this first paragraph, and I'm going to read a good portion of it. So it says, choosing the crystal that will work for you can be challenging at first. In my shop, we recommend that a customer start by walking around the displays and simply pick up one that attracts their attention. We advise holding onto it, closing one's eyes, and taking a deep breath. We ask them to focus for a moment and try to feel the energy of the stone. If it doesn't feel like anything, or they simply do not like the looks of it, then put the stone back and try another. A person must trust their instincts and let their own natural reaction to the stone be their guide. Quite often I see the customers drifting back to one of the crystals they had been drawn to earlier, but had put down back in the display bowl as they continued their search. I love that. In this section, in this chapter 2, she lists more examples of how crystals work differently for different people. This is definitely my favorite part of the book. I'm always saying something very similar in my videos, especially like my monthly videos where I work with the crystal for a month and I tell you what my experience is. I always say that my experience can be completely different than somebody else's, and that's great. And she does a really good job of explaining that, and I love that. This chapter alone is totally worth buying this book. Next is crystal cleansing. There's a quote in the first paragraph that says, "Your own belief system will dictate what works best for you." I love that. She also explains why you need to cleanse them. She perfectly explains it. I love how she explains it. This is another chapter in this book that's totally worth buying it. She lists the most popular ways. She does water, sunlight, moonlight, smudging, and one thing I really, really liked about this, there's a lot of people that say water cleansing is the best or sunlight cleansing is the best, but they don't tell you that there's some crystals you can't put in the water. There's some crystals that will get bleached in the sun, and she does a really good job of explaining that there's some you can't do that with all of them. And she says that moonlight is the favored method of other crystal enthusiasts for the cleansing and recharging. You set your stones out in the rays of the full moonlight. And she even says, people like to put them out in the middle, get the full effect of the moon. And I love doing that. I like getting the full effect of the moon rays on my crystals. But like right now, I can't do that. So they go into windowsill and it works perfectly fine. I do feel that having them outside in the moon, under the full moon, to me it feels like a stronger cleanse and charge. But for 4 years now, I've been having to put them in the windowsill and they work perfectly fine. Yes, I would like to start doing it outside again, but we're doing what we can. Then she talks about programming and the fact that crystals are going to get dings when they're used, and that's totally okay. I'm going to read this last paragraph. Some people believe that if your stone breaks, it's because it had an overload of negative energy, and it's best to simply bury it or throw it away, especially with hematite. And I guess that's possible. I'm more inclined to believe it was from my own clumsiness or my cat attacks. So another thing I do is stick some of the broken pieces in my muslin bag and toss them in my bath. I believe the energy of the crystals infuse the water while I soak, and I find crystal baths relaxing and refreshing. Just if you do that, be careful. Some of them, like, don't do that with malachite or like red tiger's eye. You're not supposed to touch raw red tiger's eye, so don't add that to your bath. There's some do your research first before you do that. I love that though. People ask me all the time, what happens if your crystal breaks? Then I've got 2 crystals. This is my belief, and it sounds like it's her belief too, that just because a crystal breaks doesn't mean it's done with you. It just means that it was one piece and maybe you dropped it, or it just kind of broke up in your pocket or whatever. It just means that things happen, and you either adjust how you're using it, how you're carrying it, or whatever, or enjoy the two pieces or multiple pieces, whatever. Next, she talks about healing techniques. Lots of good suggestions, and I really like her explanation of crystal grids in here. I wish I had seen that before I started my crystal grid series on this channel. If you started watching it, I started that off with, there's all these steps you got to do. There's these rules you got to follow, and you got to do it a certain way. And now I'm at the opinion, you do what feels right, and that's pretty much what she says. You use the crystals that you choose and put them out, and she does talking about use 4 crystals, at least 4 crystals, one in each, north, south, east, and west. I like that idea. I think it's okay. Sometimes, like, if I'm doing a property, like in our old property, the 4 corners, I'd put a black tourmaline in each corner of our property. Well, one was the northeast corner, one was the northwest corner, and same southeast, southwest corners. There's no way to put, well, I kind of could have probably put one in the north. I don't know if it would have gotten knocked into the road and messed up. The 2 side ones I think were okay, and then the south one, I think it would have gotten knocked into a ditch. Being at the 4 corners, they were more protective. So, yeah, I think having it the north, south, east, and west was a great idea. But if it doesn't work, the 4 corners is perfectly fine. And I think she kind of says that too. Then introducing the healing crystals and stones. So before she gets into the actual crystals, she gets some more general information, and she goes by color, which I thought was really interesting. And the crystal colors kind of have the general descriptions and properties, and she goes over those, and I really liked how she did that. And she goes through all of them: golds, browns, purples, and then we get into the crystals. Okay, I really like how she did this. So it has a good picture. You can see the title really good, and then there's a very brief description over here on the left with the picture. Then over here on the right, my phone keeps going off. People are texting me, and now I'm distracted. On the right, I really liked. It's a great general description. In a lot of my other books that I've recommended, and I'm going to recommend, I've got more books to go through, they got a lot longer. This one is a perfect kind of general. It gives lots of good information, but it's not overwhelming. It gives the basics plus a little bit more, and it's not overwhelming. To me, when I read the descriptions, they reminded me of when you go into like a crystal or metaphysical store, and the little description of the crystals, some of them have little cards that you can take for free, or little signs. It felt like those. And then back here, under the about the author information, that's basically what she did. She owns a crystal store and she wrote up the little descriptions. And so the, all of them are like that. And there's some that are just even smaller. And there are the ones that are just kind of a little less known. She does jasper and then she goes into more specific types of jasper. And I really like how she does that. She included goldstone, which I'm very happy about. You all know that I love goldstone, even though it's man-made. I'm very happy with it. And here, they're technically not a crystal. This copper-infused wonder was created back in the 17th century by the Maioti family in Venice, Italy. I didn't know that. So I even learned new stuff. I love this book. I really like the choices of crystals she included. They're pretty common. And most of them are pretty easy to find, pretty affordable. Just good. I have most of them. There's a few in here I do not have, which that always kind of makes me excited too, because then I get curious, like astrophyllite. I don't have it. I've heard of it. I do not have it. It's a really good choice of crystals, and the write-ups are great. I really like that. And then at the back, under the suggested crystals and stones by problem and ailment, she, instead of like listing an ailment or whatever situation, she has this chart that is really good. And I'm not going to go deep into the chart, but I really like how she did this. And I think it's really helpful. And I really like this book. This book I highly, highly, highly recommend for beginners and people that are curious about working with crystals. It's got really good basic information, good photos. It's easy to understand. And I think I agreed with pretty much everything she said, which is rare. Even in a Judy Hall book, which I've been recommending the Judy Hall books forever, there are some things I don't agree with in Judy Hall books. But this Katie Odell book, I think I pretty much agreed with everything she said. And I liked how she explained everything. I'm very happy with this book and I highly recommend it. So, if you are wanting to get into crystals but just kind of need a little basic book, this is perfect. If you're into crystals and love crystals as much as I do, it's a great book for that too. I learned stuff from here, and there's stuff, reading it kind of validated some stuff, and it was like, oh good, somebody else agrees or thinks that too. That felt good to me too. So I highly recommend this. I think everybody that loves crystals should have this book. I have more books to share reviews on, so I'm not gonna. I usually ask for suggestions, but I've got enough suggestions right now. I've got a stack I've got to get through, so I'm not gonna ask for suggestions yet. But if you're wanting a good general book, definitely get this one. And thank you for Selena for showing it on your channel, so that then I got it, and I'm very happy with it. I like it a lot. Highly recommend. Go get it. So, I'm sending you lots of positive energy, and I will see you next time.